When you are 70 years old, you need to learn to live a colder life for 6 powerful reasons that will bring you peace and strength. Have you spent your entire life being kind, only to find yourself become an easy target? Many times, as we get older, we are advised to maintain a kind heart, to be patient, and to forgive others. You might find yourself drained, manipulated, and fatigued if you do not learn to live a little colder and more detached. However, the truth is that you might wind up in this situation. The film presents 6 compelling arguments that demonstrate why living a frigid life after the age of 70 is about preserving your tranquility rather than being harsh. Every one of these 6 realizations stems from a realization that many of us come to later in life: that being overly available, overly emotional, and overly nice can gradually erode the life that we have labored so diligently to construct. The knowledge that you will acquire today is not about shutting down your emotions. They are about making a thoughtful decision about where you open it. In other words, they are about learning how to give without being emptied, how to care without being consumed, and how to be nice without being used. Continue to pay attention to the very end, because one of the concluding points might actually change the way you perceive the remainder of your life. Once you have a better understanding of it, you will wish that someone had informed you earlier. This is something that the majority of people do not realize until it is too late. It's time to get started. First and foremost, maintaining emotional separation safeguards your peace. As one gets older, the value of tranquility increases and becomes more meaningful. In addition, letting go of the emotional entanglements that were once seen to be so vital is one of the most effective methods to safeguard it. Distancing yourself emotionally does not mean that you cease caring, that you begin to make decisions about where your care is directed. As you get older, not every debate is worthy of your time and effort. There are some family conflicts that do not require your assistance. Words that are cruel do not always require a response. Because you have worked hard, you have earned the right to prevent your heart from being pulled in every direction, particularly by those others who have higher expectations for you than they are willing to offer. There are instances when we confuse love with obligation. Nevertheless, genuine love does not require you to lose sleep over the mayhem that is caused by another person. It is not a requirement that you mend something that was never yours to bear. When you start to emotionally detach yourself from something, what you are actually doing is creating a line between the things that affect you and the things that do not affect you. And that line will become the limit that protects your sanity at this time. It is possible to feel compassion for another person without taking on their suffering. You are able to actively listen without providing a solution. There is a way to be present without being exhausted. Consider Robert as an illustration. Since he was 81 years old, he has been the emotional support system for his extended family. It was always he who was the first person to contact whenever there was a problem. A quarrel, a hurt sentiment, or a birthday that was missed. For a number of years, he answered immediately. I made an effort to mediate and to bring about a sense of harmony. However, he began to become aware of the fact that his own days were getting shorter. Despite the fact that a significant amount of his energy was being spent on issues that were not his own. Currently, Robert is attentive, but he does not offer any solutions. Although he is supportive, he does not pursue. As a result of his actions, he has discovered a component that had been absent for several decades. Acceptance of this fact is necessary for living with emotional detachment. You do not have the right to fight every conflict. In other words, it is avoiding drama even when you are invited to participate in it. To choose silence over tension and to choose distance over destruction is what it means. As a result of living in such a manner, some individuals may remark that you have become icy. You have stopped being convenient, which is what people truly mean when they say that. Now that you've stopped being a sponge for their feelings, you've begun to take responsibility for protecting your own feelings. It is precisely this transition that marks the beginning of freedom. The reason for this is that when you stop carrying the emotional baggage of other people, your own road becomes little lighter. Mornings are more peaceful for you. Your evenings become more peaceful. Furthermore, the peace that does not quiver with every phone call or tremble with every text message is the kind of peace that is worth everything. Saying no without feeling guilty is the second way to keep your energy levels up. When you reach the age of 70, your time and energy don't just become precious, they become sacrosanct. In addition, the ability to say no without becoming overwhelmed by feelings of guilt is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect that you can cultivate. Many of us have been taught, over the course of several decades, to be nice, to accommodate, and to say yes, despite the fact that we intended to say no. However, this way of life brings up feelings of exhaustion, and a subtle resentment. When you live a chilly life, you are aware that you are no longer here to be everything for everyone, and that this is not an act of selfishness. That is the definition of survival. If you agree to do something that you do not want to do, you are essentially denying yourself the opportunity to do something that you would like to do, such as rest, tranquility, or simply doing nothing at all. You are given a limited amount of days, and you have the ability to decide how you will spend those days. Your time is not something that you owe to every invitation. It is not necessary for you to cater to each and every request. Furthermore, you do not owe your energy to individuals who do not value it in any way. Take, for example, Sandra, who is 76 years old and has spent the majority of her adult life serving as the yes person in her family. When she needed a lift to the airport, she would go. Despite the fact that she was completely weary, she would still host Thanksgiving. Childcare provided at the 11th hour. Even when she had her own plans, she would change them at the last minute. There was a change in her that occurred the previous year. She started to realize that the habit of always saying yes had deprived her of years of happiness in a stealthy manner. Currently, Sandra is expressing her refusal in a manner that is both polite and forceful, without providing any explanation. And are you aware of what took place? The motion of the world continued. It was the individuals who actually cared who adapted, and she arrived to a state of tranquility. To decline, you do not require a valid reason. It is not necessary for you to rationalize, over-explain, or soften the boundaries that you have set in order to make other people feel more calm. You won't need to provide a long explanation to the folks who love and respect you. Yes, they will comprehend. And those that don't, well, they've been taking advantage of your lack of limits for a far longer period of time than they should have. When you say no, you are demonstrating a subdued form of strength. This is not a cold shoulder or a bitter refusal, rather, it is a resounding, unwavering, and unapologetic refusal. When combined with room, such strength becomes a life. There is room for relaxation, introspection, happiness, and good health. After you have stopped feeling guilty about defending yourself, you will start to feel your vitality returning. As a result, you find that you wake up with less anxiety, that you go to bed with fewer regrets, and that you spend your days with activities that nourish you rather than just those that nourish others. It is not true that you stop caring if you live a frigid life. That you are considerate is a sign. The first thing you do is take care of yourself, so that you have something left to contribute. And when you learn to say no from a place of love rather than fear, you begin to reclaim the life that has been waiting for you the whole time. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Your mental health is protected by the third point, which is selective empathy. Once a person reaches the age of 70, there is a gradual change that takes place. You come to the realization that while empathy is a wonderful quality, if you give it too much, too freely, and too frequently, it might slowly deteriorate your own mental health. The practice of selective empathy does not include shutting down your heart. Make a decision about where your heart travels, how often it goes, and for how long it stays there, mostly due to the fact that not everyone is deserving of the whole weight of your worry. And not every problem is yours to bring to your emotional level. When you give yourself permission to experience profound compassion for other people, you transform into a receptacle for their suffering, their anxiety, and their disarray. Over the course of time, you begin to carry it as if it were your own, even though you are not even aware of this fact. The manifestations of this unseen load include feelings of exhaustion, depression, anxiety, and even physical sickness. People approach you because they are aware that you care about them. But they also come to you because they are aware that you will take on more than you normally would. Being cold involves coming to terms with the fact that empathy has its limitations, and that your own must be respected as well. Tell me about Gerald, if you don't mind. He is now 83 years old and is one of the most generous persons you will ever come across. However, over a number of decades, Gerald would take on the suffering of everyone else around him, acquaintances who were having financial difficulties, neighbors who were having disagreements, and family members whose relationships were disintegrating. He carried it all as if it were his personal purpose to fix it, to heal it, and to carry it till it died away. After some time, however, his health started to deteriorate. In addition to the fact that he was not sleeping, his blood pressure was rising, and he started to feel a loss of lightness in his soul. Something that his physician mentioned to him one day left an impression on him. Gerald, you are able to care, but you do not have to completely collapse. During that particular day, he granted himself permission to care less, just enough to maintain his kindness, but not so much that he lost himself in the process. Listening without taking in content is what is meant by selective empathy. Providing help without compromising your own tranquility is what it entails. This involves not intervening to save other people from their own duties and consequences, but rather allowing them to handle things on their own. If someone is constantly in a state of crisis, constantly in need, and constantly trying to pull on your emotions, then they are not searching for a relationship. Their goal is to find someone on whom they can unload all of their weight. You have earned the right to say no more after you reach the age of 70. You will begin to perceive life in a new manner once you begin to exercise control over who is able to access your empathy. You are less reactive and less overwhelmed than before. It becomes easier for you to make room in your mind for the things that are actually important to you, such as your health, your joy, your hobbies, and your legacy. Furthermore, folks who actually care about you will comprehend your boundaries and will not challenge them while doing so. This kind of coldness possesses a special kind of charm, a grace that is calm and guarded, that you are not excluding anyone from the conversation. Your thoughts are uncluttered, your feelings are steady, and your spirit is unbroken due to your actions. Through this action, you are allowing yourself the opportunity to experience joy without being continually submerged in the misery of others. Additionally, it is at that particular location that your mental wellness starts to flourish once more. Fourth, protecting your time is a great way to boost your sense of self-worth. After the age of 70, time becomes holy. Each hour carries a greater amount of weight. Each day seems to have a greater value, and every single moment has the potential to either energize you or deplete you. Because of this, one of the most essential things that you need to refrain from giving away so easily is your time at this point. Being self-centered is not the same thing as guarding your time. What matters is that you have finally come to see how valuable it actually is. It is not true that you are driving people away when you live a frigid life. The only difference is that you are no longer giving your time to things or people that do not merit a portion of it. Consider the number of times you have agreed to something, only to later come to regret your decision as it is taking place. Attending parties that left you feeling more isolated than connected, sitting through conversations that you did not enjoy, and completing errands that were not your responsibility are all examples of stressors. Although it is simple to fall into the trap of thinking that being giving with your time makes you a nice person, this is not the case. But the thing that makes you a wise person is the fact that you use your time in a purposeful manner. Example. Take Helen as an example. Her calendar used to be crammed with every invitation that was sent her way. And she is now 78 years old. Social clubs, familial commitments, and church gatherings are all examples. At all times, she was absent and actively participating. However, she began to become aware of something. After all of those long days, she did not feel like she had accomplished anything. She had a feeling of lack. At some point in time, she sat down with her planner and posed a straightforward inquiry before herself. Which of these things genuinely makes me happy? The response is that not much. Consequently, she began to decline, thereby making room for herself and selecting her moments with great care. Helen's schedule is less hectic these days, but her spirit is more robust than ever before. It is important that your time reflects your values. It ought to nurture not just your body but also your intellect and your emotions. You are free to take a step back if it does not accomplish that. I don't think you need to elaborate. No authorization is required of you. The time that you owe to every call, every text, every favor, and every event is not anything that you owe. You will never be made to feel bad for protecting your hours if you are among people who truly respect you, because they will recognize that your hours are important. Additionally, you get to understand which relationships are one-sided because of this. Those individuals who only call when they have a specific requirement. Those who never inquire about how you are doing but constantly anticipate that you will listen to them. By being mindful of how you spend your time, you bring to light the things that have been draining you. Moreover, once you have a firm understanding of it, it is impossible to go back. When you have nothing to do and a day to yourself, you can find peace, rather than allowing someone else to determine how you should spend your morning. It can be therapeutic to make your own decisions. When you stop allowing other people to take up your time, you start to recover the value that you possess. Every time you respond, "I'm not available for that," what you're really expressing is that you respect yourself. This is exactly what you're saying. I would appreciate it if you could use the fourth comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Saying no is the fifth principle, and it safeguards your personal limits. The passage of time brings with it a different kind of power. However, it is not always in the body but rather in the spirit. In addition, the ability to refuse something is one of the most obvious indications of that power. Kindly, firmly, and without any sense of guilt, a person's personal boundaries become more than merely preferences after they reach the age of 70. They transform into shields, protective barriers that safeguard your tranquility, your dignity, and your liberty to live your life according to your own terms. Understanding that defending your space is not rude is a necessary component of living a chilly life. Yes, that is necessary. There are far too many people who mix availability with kindness. If you have always been trustworthy and the person that others could depend on, then it is possible that you have experienced the gradual diminishment of your own requirements over the course of time. If you really want to say no, you end up saying yes. When your body is begging you to rest, you give in and agree to help. You allow behavior that goes above the acceptable range in order to maintain the status quo. A peace that is achieved at the expense of your limits, on the other hand, is not exactly peace. Quiet surrender is what it is. I'd like to tell you about Louis. Enjoy. At the age of 81, he has been what many people have referred to as the rock of the family for the majority of his life. Dependable, cool, and always willing to say yes. But over the course of time, he became aware that his kindness was not being acknowledged or appreciated. Everybody was anticipating it. It would come as a surprise to everyone if he ever turned down an invitation. When he expressed a concern, They dismissed it as unimportant. After a certain point, Lewis suddenly stopped taking calls that were merely accompanied by requests. It was then that he began to refuse, even if it meant letting someone down. In addition, an extraordinary event took place. He had a sense of liberation. There is no anger, no bitterness, only freedom. Limits are not walls in any sense. These doors are secured with locks. You have the ability to decide who to let in and how far they are permitted to go. Doing so does not indicate that you are heartless or uncaring. What this implies is that you are finally preserving what you have spent your entire life cultivating, which includes your energy, your ideals, and your peace. Additionally, the more you do it, the more natural it will feel to you. It doesn't take long for people to figure out who they can and cannot take advantage of. When you start to say no with self-assurance, you will find that the people who use your services suddenly depart. And that is not a loss but rather a blessing. Additionally, you start to realize that the boundaries you set for yourself are a reflection of your self-respect. You are not here to entertain feelings of guilt. It is not your responsibility to fulfill every query or find a solution to every issue. You are here to take pleasure in the years that you have worked so hard to obtain. This necessitates establishing distinct boundaries and remaining steadfast in adhering to them. There is bravery in possessing such a chilly disposition. This is not the kind of communication that drives others away, but rather the kind that ultimately brings you back to yourself, mostly due to the fact that at this point in your life, protecting your boundaries is not an option. It is a matter of survival. To add insult to injury, each time you respect those boundaries, you reclaim an additional portion of your authority. Detachment from the results is the sixth step toward achieving ultimate serenity. When one stops attempting to exert control over everything, they are able to experience a form of power that is more subtle. Let go of the impulse to control how other people act after you reach the age of 70. This is one of the most liberating things you can do, whether it be how events transpire or how people respond to the decisions you make. It is not indifference to live a life of abstinence. It's about having a clear emotional state. It is the realization that your tranquility is no longer contingent on things moving in the direction you want them to. In addition, this is a form of mastery in and of itself. We tend to focus our efforts on things that we are unable to control while we are younger. When someone don't want to change, we make an effort to help them. Our words are overthought in the hope that they will be delivered perfectly. Regrets, blunders, and what if scenarios consume our thoughts. But as time passes, it becomes more obvious. There is no amount of concern that has ever worked to improve a result. There is no amount of overfunctioning that has ever yielded peace that is long-lasting. It is not the same thing as giving up. It's taking a step back so you can catch your breath. In the past, Eleanor, who is now 84 years old, was always concerned about the choices that her children made. It was their finances, their relationships, and their decisions that she couldn't agree with that caused her to fall asleep at night. In spite of this, she had a realization one day. They were not benefiting from her anxiety. This was causing her pain. At that point, she made a choice. On request, she would provide guidance, love them without conditions and have faith that they will sort things out on their own. Her body has a lighter feeling. Her mind has become more calm. And she has become more smiley since then. It's not because life is perfect, rather, it's because she quit attempting to exert control over something that was never hers to begin with. You may begin to regain your time, your energy, and your joy when you detach yourself from the repercussions of your actions. You are no longer under the impression that you need to seek acceptance, solve the issues of everyone, or make certain that everything runs smoothly. Learning to let talks finish without a conclusion is something you learn. You give a person the opportunity to be incorrect about you. At the point where it is not necessary, you cease explaining yourself. You do not become heartless as a result of this. It imparts wisdom upon you. It indicates that the behavior of other people is no longer able to adjust the temperature of your emotional thermostat. Your ability to remain grounded is unaffected by whether or not another person is thankful, polite, or present. You maintain your composure. The fact that someone else is spinning does not trigger you to spiral anymore. In other words, this is what it means to live a life of emotional independence and life of coldness. The pursuit of peace is now the top goal at this point. The pursuit of control does not lead to peace. Surrender is where you locate it. However, the surrender of outcomes is more important than the sacrifice of values. Your presence is marked by love, honesty, and effort. Nonetheless, you let go of the expectation that you will achieve outcomes. The process of letting go of something is not simple, but it is transforming. I would appreciate it if you could use the 6th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Lastly, some thoughts. Take some time to think about the topics that we have discussed as we come to the end of this video. It is not necessary to close your heart or walk through life with walls up in order to live a frigid life after the age of 70. To choose clarity over confusion, peace over people-pleasing, and limits over burnout is what it means to make this choice. The key is to make sure that your health and happiness are at the forefront of your decision-making process. It's not because you've lost interest in caring, rather, it's because you've begun to care more about the things that are important to you. What did you find to be the most noteworthy? On the basis of where you are in life right now, which of these 6 reasons resonated with you the most? The concept of refraining from being overly generous could have been the cause. Perhaps it was the power that silence possessed. It could also have been the profound truth about distancing yourself from things that you are unable to manage. No matter what it was, you should keep it. These are not merely concepts, rather, they are instruments that you can begin utilizing right away in order to live your life with more power, more peace, and more authenticity. There is a certain type of beauty that can only be seen when one stops running after things and instead begins to choose. Deciding what is in accordance with your core beliefs. How to decide whether to get involved and when to take a step back. Making decisions on how to spend your valuable time and deciding who will get to share it with you. It takes bravery to live this way at first, since it is not an easy way to live. On the other hand, it becomes less difficult with each barrier that you safeguard, each time that you pause before reacting, and each instant that you heed your own needs. More than that, it becomes extremely rewarding in the long run, because this period of life is not a way of winding down, but rather a way of refining. It is no longer necessary for you to demonstrate anything. You are deserving of this position. You have lived, learned, experienced loss, and loved, and at this point, it is up to you to decide what is important and what is not. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. It is vital to us and to us that you share your opinions. So please do not be reluctant to do so. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.